Today, let's quickly speak about the principle of auditing. When it comes to auditing, whether it's ISO audit, whether it's your process audit, internal audit, you're auditing as a third party, you are auditing as a regulatory body, financial audit, there are principles, set of rules that guides our activities as an auditor, the auditing profession. And I would like to take you through this journey of the key principles that is applicable to you as an auditor, which you should put at the back of your mind. And at the end of this video, I would give you an acronym that will make it easy for you to understand. Number one is what we call integrity. That is the basis of all profession. You have to have that high level of integrity. Especially, it's very sensitive when it comes to auditing, because you are trying to see what an organization, a firm, or an individual is doing, and if it's in line with what it said you'll be doing. Because when you, for example, you want to set up your organization in a country, there are a set of regulations, rules that guides what you want to do. You are automatically expected to comply with those regulations. Auditing means I'm coming to check if you are doing it as you're supposed to do. For example, when we look at the Factories Act, we have auditors from Ministry of Labor and Employment, Inspectorate Department that goes to organization to carry out some kind of activities, auditing, as you can call it. We have those that go from NSITF to carry out audit when there is an incident in an organization and they call them for compensation and the likes, or for other reasons they go to carry out audit. There's also finance audit, there's also ISO auditing. Even internally organization, you carry out audit. So now there must be integrity, meaning that you should not jeopardize whatever relationship you have to be put aside and apply professionalism. Integrity is the basis for all profession. You must not sell your integrity because of your personal interest. You must not even sell your integrity for any reason. So when you are auditing, integrity is at stake. Your name is at stake. Your reputation is at stake. Don't present yourself as so cheap that you'll be bought with money. What you should be bought with is a clear process, a clean process, full compliance with the requirement. Integrity is very important and very basic, and that's what will drive you as an auditor to be able to express your intelligence when it comes to doing the right thing. Now, the second thing that is very important is their presentation. You need to be accurate and truthful in whatever you're presenting. There is need for accuracy. That is why the concept of seeking knowledge, understanding what you want to go and carry out. You know, if you go to a complete auditing course, they will tell you that before you go for an audit, there's what we call audit plan. So the audit plan will make you to understand what you are expected to do, what you want to go and do, the objective of the audit. From understanding the objective of the audit, the criteria you're auditing against, it will drive you to seek more knowledge about that framework, the organization you're going to audit, what they do, which will drive your accuracy. There's need for accuracy when you're carrying out your audit activity. So accuracy is a key factor when it comes to professionalism. You need to be very fair in your presentation. You need to be truthful. Don't take things personally. In auditing, you don't take things personal. You are auditing the process. You are representing an organization. You are not representing yourself as an individual. You are representing an entity to carry out the audit activity. So you need to ensure that you are truthful in whatever you are representing, in whatever you are presenting, in whatever you are auditing. Do not say, because maybe the organization that you are auditing, one way or the other, you've worked with them subconsciously. We are human, we can meet ourselves anywhere. Maybe you've met with the HR or manager somewhere where you had some issues and you're coming to come and audit them. Unfortunately, you've had some alterations before. You shouldn't put that into the game of the auditing. No, it's not done that way. You must be truthful and you must be accurate. And then the next one is due professional care. You must be able to make judgments when it comes to the audit activity. You must be able to have that ability to be able to have a final judgment based on what you have seen. They present to you their evidence that they are complying with the requirement of the standard, that they are complying or conforming with the requirement that they are supposed to conform with. They are taking in their process, they are carrying out their activities, implementing their process in line with their set objective. They identify their risk, for example, and they are putting controls in place to address their risk. Now, they have given you evidence. Now, you are not looking at what does the standard says, what does regulation says, how should they go about it, how did they come about this requirement, how did they come about these processes to address the need of the requirement. Now, you are putting all this together and you are able to make a judgment to say, okay, from what I've seen, this people, they meet up with the requirement. Now, there are some part of the requirement that are explicit. When we say explicit, it is clear. There's no ambiguity. For example, if you go through the ISO standard, many times you will see statements like this and this should be available as documented information. When the evidence of competency is very essential, something within that frame, it is important that from clause 7.2 of the ISO standard, it is now very important that they present documented evidence of competency. Now, the policy should be available as documented information and should be communicated, and so many other parts. And if you go to the Factories Act and so many other regulations, there are specific requirements that are very clear that you don't need to start arguing. But there are some that are implied that now depends on your interpretation. It now depends on the context of the organization. It now depends on the scope of operation, the scope of certification, and some other factors that will now determine how you want to interpret that particular regulation. That is why at the end of the day, in the case of implied, it's very essential for you to be able to interpret and say that, okay, with what they have presented, they have addressed the need of this standard, they have addressed the need of this regulation. And that is one of the key principles of auditing. Then the next one, we call it confidentiality. We have the opportunity to audit different organizations that are into the same services, the same product. And for that reason, there is need for you to have that principle. It's not until they tell you to sign document. You shouldn't be auditing and you are telling company A about what you saw in company B. You are telling company B about what you saw in company A. That is not a good attitude of an auditor. An auditor is supposed to have that high level confidentiality. Apart from signing, basically they will be vulnerable to you. You will see their loopholes, you will see everything they do, their strength, their organizational knowledge, for example, for quality management. You will see what they do, you will understand their process, you have access to their documentations and so many other things that you'll be exposed to. That is why a key principle that you should have is that confidentiality, that ability to keep that secret with you and not expose any company at any point in time. Even when you get to now work with another company, with a competitor, you should be able to apply that confidentiality. Then next is independence. Independence. Your auditing should not be dependent on what they tell you or what they want you to do. Your auditing should be based on what the standard is required, what the regulation has required them to do. The criteria that they have set for themselves in the organization, requirement that is set to meet, that should only be what should be moving you. Your auditing should be independent of what an organization wants you to do or what someone else wants you to do. That's why internal audit, for example, the HSE manager should not be auditing the HSE department. That's why your internal auditors should comprise of professionals, your staff from different units, from different departments, so that by the time there is time for auditing, they schedule the audit in such a way that no one is auditing his own process. Independent. Then the last two, which is risk-based approach and evidence-based approach. Sometimes what makes your audit beautiful and easy and can create a framework for you to be able to expand your audit activity is having a risk-based approach. Risk-based approach means that carrying out your audit in a way that you are looking at the risk that is involved in the organization. Every organization has their own risk based on what you are auditing against. For example, if it's a quality management system that you are auditing, then the quality risk based on what they do, maybe their product and services, what have you identified? That would be like a kind of web, the center point that you now expand and look at every other place. Because when you look at the way the ISO standard, for example, has been developed, in such a way that it's not a waterfall process, it's a fluid process where everything works together. If you're talking about your risk, how do you identify your risk? How do you know that this is your risk? Then you'll be going to clause 4 to understand the context of the organization, their needs and expectations of their interested parties. Because even clause 6 will tell you clearly that you should make reference to 4.1 to 4.2, which talks about the context of the organization, understanding the organization. Then the 4.2 that talks about the needs and expectation of interested parties. That will help you to have a very good risk register or risk and opportunity register as you mostly have it. And also understanding your scope, because a construction company, the kind of quality risk will be different from a mining organization. Even in the construction company, depending on what you do, your context, there are so many things happening in construction. So every organization will have their own unique risk that they've identified that is related to their process. So ability to be able to address it from the angle of risk. Okay, this risk, the risk that you identify it, how do you address it? How do you manage it? Talking about their operations, their resources, that is their support system to address the risk, that they need to address the risk, how they implement it, and how they evaluate and monitor the process. So you're looking at it from the risk-based approach, identifying the risk, assessing the risk, what are the risk level, how do they evaluate the risk, how do they address the risk, and how do they plan to improve on their process. It helps you to ask a whole lot of questions in order to be able to have that conclusion that they are meeting up with the requirement of the standard. And the last, which is not the least, is evidence-based approach, providing evidence for what they do. So all this is not that you apply one and everything is by the side. Everything works together. Evidence-based approach. As you're using your risk-based approach, they are giving you evidence of this, that you sit in the office and they start showing document. You're not doing documentation audit alone. Documentation audit is for stage 1, which is stage 1 audit, while stage 2 is the main audit. So in stage 1 audit, most times you do documentation, just you can also walk around for a few minutes, but you're only focused on documentation to see how well they have implemented and established their standard. Then for full audit, full system audit, stage 2 audit, you are going around including seeing evidence of what they said they have done in the document. You are going to confirm it on their site or in their operations, because many times you have sweet process, good documentation, just like Nigeria, but when it comes to implementation, it's a problem. So these are the principles that guide the activities of an auditor. I hope you find this very interesting. I hope you love this. See you in the next video. Remember, another wonderful section of Enlightenment section with Waliola. If you're interested in taking any of our ISO courses, you can as well get in contact with us. But most importantly, stay on this channel to continue to learn, unlearn, and relearn. If there are things that you think we didn't add, but we added, or we added, but it's not supposed to be there, you can also drop it in the comment section. Together, we can only get better. Thank you.